The transition to high school was a really weird one. Of course, I did not fit in. And I had very few friends, actually, most of them being girls when I was in elementary school. However, like typical girl drama and stuff, I got sick of it. I want to say 13 or 14 when I started noticing both girls and guys. The only thing I remember was my dad saying, "No, my kids aren't going to turn out gay." It was unacceptable with my grandfather. He was racist and homophobic. And then a family friend of ours had introduced her to Christianity just after my dad died. It's just I didn't necessarily enjoy having it forced on me. She was one of those like born again type at that point. I never really thought much about religion, so I started binge drinking and getting into trouble and stuff at school. Originally petty things like fighting. My mom thought this was a huge deal. I really didn't. I tried marijuana a couple times. So age 17, this is like a year after my dad passed, and all my bullshit started. I was part of this Facebook group that was dedicated to black metal music. So I get this message one day saying I was wondering if you RNS or just listen to NSBM, so National Socialist Black Metal. So casual conversations online turned to phone calls eventually, and then in-person meetings. And when I was 18, my mom and brother could not take my newfound belief system, the drinking, the everything, any longer. So I was given an ultimatum. It's like either you give all this stuff up or you find somewhere else to live. So I actually went to go live with this person that brought me around the movement, the same guy who had been messaging me. A lot of the rhetoric that he introduced was the anti-Semitic stuff. Like, they're in control, they're at fault for everything wrong in your life. I heard like a lot of that white replacement narrative too. Like, these people are taking over. Eventually we will be wiped out. I shaved the underside of my head like I used to have an undercut, and I also tattooed 1488 on the side of my neck. We must secure the existence of a race in the future for white children. 88 means Heil Hitler. Later on in my involvement, I got Rahowa tattooed across my back. So it's short for Racial Holy War. So yes, I did subscribe to that idea. I remember one like aspect of it that a lot of the guys seemed to enjoy entertaining was going and hanging race traitors off lampposts. And I remember with the Hammerskins, like they were big into the music scene. So after the shows, like say if counter groups and stuff didn't show up, they would often end up scrapping it out with each other over something often very trivial. Or going out in the town, and some of them would enjoy looking for fights with people. I wanted to be more involved with them at the time. It's just they were always like, yeah, right, like go learn your place, have your boyfriend's kids. And I'm like, I don't even want kids. Like, what am I gonna do with myself here? So some of the guys wanted to go and start stockpiling guns. I think a lot of people's target group was actually the elite, in other words, the Jews. So 2012, a good buddy of mine from the group was murdered. In his case, it was actually nothing to do with like the movement itself. He got himself involved in something else that he shouldn't have been. So the way that group was like trying to appropriate his death, like they were spin doctoring the story, like trying to martyr the guy, saying, oh yeah, like this was a hate crime against our people. I started thinking, how much of my own life have I screwed up where it's actually been my fault instead of somebody else's? I started working a new job, and I was doing scaffolding at the time. Interestingly, half of the work crew was Jamaican. They're the ones that I got along with the best. So I'm like, okay, these guys are way more fun. I'd rather be around them. I'm like, yeah, screw this, I'm done with hate. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to like slowly distance myself. So I would make excuses not to come out and stuff. I did use the sobriety as one excuse, and it was actually a valid one. I was always kind of an outsider. They tend to be attracted to kind of more taboo things. The way I kind of looked at it was like all the outsiders in one place. So realistically, what it means is forget about all the parts of your life that don't fit in with this movement or these narratives. Like, throw them aside for us. Like, that's really what they mean. This is how a lot of people feel. It wasn't just me at the time. It feels really freaking good to think that you have like all this secret knowledge that no one else knows about or is privy to. So I guess the temptation to be somebody in these groups, yes, I realize it's attractive. However, it does come at a cost later in life. A lot of the people in these groups refer to themselves as freedom fighters of sorts. However, there's nothing freeing about being trapped in that web for the sake of white people's freedom, like believing that we were being restricted by all these other forces. However, over time, I would learn that I was actually the one restricting myself. Now, I did get messages on social media and stuff saying like, hey, where'd you go? Or the ever famous, how could you throw away your white heritage like this? And I started laughing at that one. I said, well, my heritage is the same as it's always been. It's just I don't really care to wrap my identity around it anymore.